This video contains disturbing and violent content. Viewer discretion advised.
Condemned 2 was released back in 2008 and featured the protagonist Ethan Thomas finding himself at the bottom of a whiskey glass as he was kicked out of the serial crimes unit as seen in the first game. The story revolves around a dark presence in the city, causing all its inhabitants to becoming violent. Ethan, haunted by past memories and his unshakable alcoholic tendencies, finds himself once again helping the SCU uncover the truth. While the original game was praised for its creepy and scary content, the sequel unfortunately doesn't live up to its name. While the game can be creepy and disturbing at times, the overall scariness factor is somewhat lacking. But, apart from that, there are still 5 reasons why I enjoyed Condemned 2. Crime scenes. There's a lot more work to be done in the sequel than in the first game. The crime scenes now really put you to the test, as you scramble around different parts of the crime scene finding the best clues to the question at hand. While you're not forced to get it right every time, it does provide a decent challenge for when you want to perfect the game and get those nabbing achievements. Some parts you have to identify the exact causes of a victim's death, from the cause of death to the location they died in. Other parts include finding the exact time when an arm was bitten off to finding out the name of a murdered victim. You also get scored on how well your crime scene photos are. Some other moments in the game require you to answer some questions, usually consisting of 3 responses. This is the game's way of asking you if you've been paying attention to what's going on and not skipping cutscenes. You're never penalised for getting answers wrong, but if you're trying to get the gold detective badge, you may want to pay attention. These segments really do break up the game from the usual action and stealth moments and are refreshing in their own ways. Chase scenes. Condemned 2 has a few chase scenes which were not present in the original. These chase scenes usually feature an unkillable enemy that will instantly kill the player in one hit if they catch them. It usually features a bit of trial and error first time around, but the chase scenes are actually rather terrifying and really keep you on your toes. One such chase is a grizzly bear suffering from rabies that actually is far more terrifying than someone telling you about it. This bear will chase you throughout the lodge, and more often than not you'll come into very close calls. Another chase happens on a barge and you're chased by a giant trash beast. I'm not entirely sure what it is. It looks like a robot, but it could be someone underneath. The game is never quite clear. It will chase you through 3 levels of floors and won't give up until you kill it with a special weapon. The chase scenes overall require quick reflexes and sharp wit to beat, but when you beat them, you can breathe a sigh of relief. Hallucinations. Since Ethan effectively committed all those murders in the first game, it took a heavy toll on him and he began to spiral into depression and alcoholism. It affects a major part of the game. When you navigate the world, you start seeing things and questioning what you're seeing is actually real or just a nightmare. There are many moments in the game that mind warp you, and it gets progressively stronger the more you play. Admittedly, some moments in the game make it really difficult to see where you're going, but these are only minor issues. Throughout the game you'll come across a stranger that bears a similar appearance to you, but you don't really know if he is actually real or a made up vision in your head.
Ready to have some fun?
New modes. In the original game, there wasn't really anything you could do once you beat the main story. In Condemned 2, you have many different challenges and a multiplayer component. The challenges include fending off a wave of thugs who are relentlessly attacking police officers, throwing bricks at enemies to make the police win, defeating 3 rioters in the quickest time, a fight club arena where you can fight a wave of enemies, and a survival mode where your task is to survive an onslaught of disturbing explosive baby toys. There's also a practice mode which lets you customize what weapons and enemies to fight against. The multiplayer component, which once served as a decent mode, consisted of bum rush, team deathmatch and crime scene. Unfortunately, you won't find any servers running now due to the inactivity of other players. Combat system. Condemned 2 has vastly improved in the combat system compared to the original. Ethan now has access to his fists and can attack with his left and right fist. Blocking is now used by holding down both triggers at once and timing it with enemy attacks. Debris weapons can now be thrown at enemies to stagger them, and the combat now is louder and more rewarding. A new mechanic added to Condemned 2 is combos, which allows the player to string together a set of powerful blows and counterattacks. Sometimes these combos will trigger a finishing strike on the enemy. These sequences are usually quick time events, and if the event is failed, the enemy returns to attack. Another new feature is the finishers. These happen when an opponent is dazed and drops to their knees. If you run up and grab them pressing left and right trigger, skull icons will appear around the level, indicating brutal finishers on enemies. Just walking up to one will trigger the finisher. These can be anything from slamming their head onto a table, putting them through a TV, through an arcade cabinet, throwing them into a dumpster, down a toilet, stuck on a rebar stick, head slam into a washer, thrown off a balcony, and even using a vice to crush their head. It's some of the most punishing but equally satisfying mechanics in the game. It's a shame there wasn't more enemies in Condemned 2 to really quell our appetite for this sheer brutalness. Although Condemned 2 brings about something new to the combat system, unfortunately halfway through the game it switches its melee combat to firearms, since many of the enemies are now soldiers. Nevertheless, Condemned 2 is still a great game and definitely does something different to the original.